Hey, excuse the wet hair. I just got out of the shower because I was all sweaty after doing the plants in the yard. I had to water them for my mom. She's doing real good, so don't worry about her. This video is probably going to be kind of rambling weird. Sorry, my computer was making a noise. What I want to talk about in this video is a subject that's been a real problem lately in schools, even for me a long time ago when dinosaurs walked the earth. Okay, maybe not that far. But what I want to talk about is bullying. Bullying. It's terrible. I graduated from high school in 1998. And I had a lot of problems with bullying myself. And I pretty much let go of it. I know I did when I made my iridescent video. That was me letting go of that anger and that pain. But there are scars. I have scars. And some things can trigger them to come back up. And I feel just ugly things that I don't like to feel. So this video is both for parents and for people who are being bullied. And to the people who are being bullied right now, you are a wonderful person. You are worth everything. Like it said in Doctor Who, you know, he's been around for 900 years and he has never met somebody that was not important. You are not worthless. You are not ugly. You are not stupid. You are not anything that these people say, because they don't really know you. You know you. You know who you are. And don't let anybody else ever dictate that, alright? I still have to struggle with that myself. Not let other people dictate who and what I am. Who I am inside. What I feel. How I act. Now, parents, if your kid has been getting bullied around at school and they stop talking about it, you know, some people may not talk about it to their parents because they're embarrassed about it, and, you know, if they can solve it themselves, that's fine, as long as they're not getting in trouble doing it. You know, none of this, no fighting. If they can avoid it. Self-defense is one thing, but just going up to somebody and hitting them because they're bugging you is completely wrong. Don't do it. Don't let any bully tempt your kid into doing that. But teach them self-defense. That's always a good thing to have. Thought my dad came home. But if your kid is being bullied and they stop talking about it, don't just assume that everything is suddenly fine. You know, if you just go, hey, how's it going at school today? Oh, it's fine. It's fine, I'm okay. You know, don't let them just go to their room. You know, you should take them aside and go, honey, are you really alright? You want to talk about anything? You know, you should always ask. You should always kind of press a little. Because it tells your kid that it's okay to talk to you. And they may have a lot inside that hurts because of what people are doing and saying to them. Now I'm going to tell you what I did because of what happened to me in school so much. You know, if you're a kid and you're being bullied, you should always report it to a teacher first. You know, if ignoring doesn't work, go to a teacher. It doesn't matter what teacher, whichever teacher is available at the time. Go to a teacher. And they will probably just tell you to ignore it. So you can say, you know, Mrs. Smith or Mr. Robertson or whatever the teacher's name is, if you know. You can just say, I tried to ignore it and they're escalating the situation. And the teacher at least what they would do with me is they would say, well, they're just being kids, just ignore them, don't let it get to you, blah, blah, blah. That's their spiel. So I would get that a lot from teachers. And then I would start going to my school counselors. If I'm in high school, I go to school counselors, So I would go to them, and they didn't really do anything about it with me either. They would just be like, well, you just have to ignore them, don't let it get to you. And this is when I was reporting a kid who was saying that he had a knife and he wanted to stab me, and he wanted me to see me die with his penis in my mouth, to put it politely. Or he said he wanted to see me bleed. He wanted to watch the blood drain out of my body. Those are the kind of things he was saying to me. He wasn't calling me names like a little whore, a little slut, or a little anorexic brat. I'm not going to use the swear words here. I'm trying to keep that off of my channel. But in the most polite terms, those are the kind of things he would say. Or he would say, I want to rape you. And that's scary stuff to hear. It really is scary to hear. Because I am 5'1" and I probably weigh 80 pounds soaking wet. And I can run pretty fast, but if somebody pins me down or against a wall, there's probably not much I can do if I cannot hit him in the balls to make him stop. So when you go to a teacher and then to someone above a teacher, a school counselor, and they don't do anything, I would go home and I would talk to my mom about it, and and she would kind of make a face, and she tried to go to the school about it. My dad tried to go to the school about it. Nothing was ever done. Nothing was done. They would just say, we will talk to this kid about it, blah, blah. It didn't stop it. It didn't stop it. It did not stop. So, when reporting doesn't work, I stopped reporting. I figured, I guess I deserve it because nobody wants to help me. So I stopped reporting it, and things got worse. There was never anything really physically done to me, but I had things stolen from me. I had property, school property, would get vandalized or stolen or destroyed. And it just, things that were said to me are the kind of things I do not want to repeat. But one incident that really stands out to me was, sorry if I get emotional about it, there were girls that liked to hound me. I never really knew their names because they weren't my class, but they would just be around. And one time at lunch, they waited until I was walking into the crowded quad area, and they threw an entire salad on me. And it was cold, so I screamed. I was just like, ah! Because it was cold. It was just freezing cold lettuce and dressing all down my hair, dripping down my back, all over my clothes, all in my hair. It was just, I let out a shriek. And of course, it was louder than what I did, because I was really, really startled. And of course, there were a whole bunch of people around. So they turned to look and see what happens. And this is what happens when bullying gets really crazy. Sometimes it can take on a mob mentality. Because suddenly one person started laughing. And then another person started laughing. It was like the movie Carrie, after the blood falls on her and she's just standing there she's just like, and you see the camera go all weird and narrow, and she's just looking around and she sees people laughing. Well, that's kind of what happened. It was just like that. Just the stuff is just dripping off of me, and I'm just standing there frozen, just staring at the girls that did it, because I turned around and I could see them. And Suddenly this whole quad area of people was just, the people that were there, they just started laughing. I mean, it was just everywhere I looked and turned, there were people laughing. Not one person stepped in to help me. Not one person stood up for me and said, "Who the hell did this? This is wrong." Okay, I said hell. That's about the worst I'll say. Hell and damn. But, not one person stood up for me. Not one person offered to help. Not one person told them to stop. Not one person asked them what was wrong with them. So I stood there with like 50 people, maybe more, just cracking up laughing at me. And they didn't want to move when I had to turn and go to the office to call my mom to help me clean up. So I just had to push through them and push between them and push people aside, and they were just laughing. Keep thinking my dad came home. So these people are just laughing. And I had to push through them to get to the office, and it took so long. And they could see the mess on my back, and I explained to the principal what happened. But since the person who did it never stepped up, not one person got in trouble. And I never heard the end of it about that either. You know, my mom, she brought me a change of clothes, and she kind of braided my hair to cover up the mess in my hair, and when I got home it was a nightmare to clean out, because by then the stuff had congealed and dried, and you know, my hair was one big mat. And when nothing was done after that, I stopped telling teachers. I stopped telling, I stopped reporting the bullying, and I just thought I deserved it. And so, I stopped reporting it, and I just thought, well, this is going to be school. And so I just kind of endured it in silence. And I probably would have done something like Columbine, or I might have killed myself if it wasn't for the clinical psychologist I was going to at the time in school. It was the clinical psychologist who diagnosed my mental disabilities, and I went through a lot of testing to be diagnosed. It was not just something they saw me once and, oh, you have this. It was like weeks and weeks of testing that I hated. I hated it. But I could talk to her about things that I didn't want to tell my parents. Then my mom would go in after me and would talk to the psychologist. And I'm sure that she would talk to my mom about the stuff, but she would give my mom ideas on how to handle me at home and stuff like that. Because I would come home in a rage a lot until, I had the psychologist where I could talk and I could draw and I could say anything I wanted and I wouldn't get in trouble. So I would go to her, and sometimes I would be cussing up a blue streak, because I hate this guy because blah, blah, blah. I hate this girl because she blah, blah, blah. And I could get that crap out. I feel lucky. But the bullying never really stopped, and it was just hell in school. Girls would push me to the bathroom, and they'd push me to the stall with the toilet that somebody didn't flush, and and they would lean on the door so I couldn't get out. People would pull my hair, and there was the guy with the knife threats, and there were people that would threaten to beat me up after school, and people would do things to my locker to where I quit using my locker because, why open it all the time just to find dirt in it or whatever. I had to keep my backpack under my desk, with my knees around it. Otherwise, people would take it out and, like, take my books and stuff. Or they would deface my books and I would get in trouble for it. And I only had a couple of friends. One of them is Elizabeth. She's on YouTube. Queer as Folk Forever Girl. QA4 Forever. That's Elizabeth. She was in school with me a long time. I knew her. I met her when I was in 5th grade. And there was JP, who was a senior when I was a junior. So I only knew him for 1 year. There was Haley, who had a lot of mental problems herself and who had some of the same problems, and she left school in the middle of the year, and I think the next year she wasn't there, and I don't know what happened to her. And there was Parnez, who was kind of an off and on friend, but I kind of wouldn't talk to them much about the bullying because I didn't want to drag them into it. And I didn't want them to get the crap I was getting because, even though misery loves company, why dump my misery on someone else, right? So, parents, if your child has been getting in trouble at school, bullies, people saying things, people doing things, and they stop talking about it, you press them a little and you ask, are you sure everything is really okay? And if you're concerned, talk to their teacher. Teachers, if somebody is reporting that somebody's doing nasty things or saying nasty things to them, do something. Don't just tell them to ignore it, because ignoring does not work. It never does. It just makes things escalate until the kid can't ignore it. It might go from just name calling to hitting to punching. So, teachers, school officials, don't brush off any reports of bullying. You put a stop to it. You have to put a stop to it. Because if you don't, you have kids that commit suicide, or they go and they try to stop the problem themselves by getting into fights, or they could shoot up the school. These are worst case scenarios. And some of them just endure it in silence, and they grow up feeling like they are worth nothing. I grew up feeling like I had no worth at all, and I still struggle with that. Whenever I do something like I trip, or I make a mistake, or, I do something clumsy, because, I'm clumsy, it used to be in school that would be acknowledged and laughed at. So now if I trip, or, if I'm walking and I stumble like this, I'll be like, oh God. If I react, then maybe nobody else will have a reason to react. Because if I would just pretend like nothing happened, I would hear the laughing. And when people laugh because of something I did, and it wasn't something I did intentionally to cause somebody to laugh, I have that moment of, oh God, are they laughing because I'm a failure? And even inquire, which I love. If I make mistakes, sometimes I will be like, oh my God, who's going to notice and laugh at me? Those kind of things. Nobody should have to grow up like that. Nobody should have to endure that kind of feeling. Bullying was a big problem when I was younger, and now with the internet, it's an even bigger problem. Because a kid can go home, and they can turn on their computer and turn on AIM, and if somebody gave their username around, they can just get attacked on their own home computer. Or somebody can link them to a website about them that says bad things. Or, people could take pictures of them and Photoshop them in really disgusting ways and laugh about that. And print them out, put them around school, I am glad I got out of school when I did, and that I graduated and finished it and got away from it when I did. Because the way kids are today, I would probably be dead, raped, or in jail, or just, I don't know. But again, I say, if you are being bullied, tell someone, and don't stop telling them. You be a nuisance until something gets done. Parents, you be a nuisance until something gets done. Because if nothing is done about bullying, it does not stop, it gets worse. That's my experience, and that's what it's always going to be. And the kids who get some ribbing and they have a thick skin and they can deal with it and laugh it off, that's great. That's awesome, you're awesome, that's great, But not everybody has a thick skin. I don't, I never did. I try to take the internet less seriously than I used to, but there are some things I see that hurt. But now I just don't react to them, or I try to make a joke out of it. And there's only so much you can do. But if you're being bullied and they're telling you you're worthless, you're stupid, and all those things, you're not. You are important and worth a lot. And I just hope that you find a way somehow to stop it. Even if it goes so far as changing schools. I know that can be difficult if you live in a place where there's only like a couple schools or homeschooling, but try. Because there's no excuse for bullying, and there's no excuse for being made to feel like you're worth nothing. There's no excuse to be made to feel like that. There's no excuse to be in pain. Nobody should make you be in pain. Nobody. And I think that I've said everything I need to say about that. I'm sorry if that was long and rambling and didn't make a lot of sense, but I do not have the most coherent train of thought most of the time. Yeah, it's bad. So anyway, if you're being bullied, just do something about it, but don't do something stupid. Just report it until something gets done. And if the worst comes to worse, go to the police. Because the police will sure take care of something. They'll do something. Get the law involved. Because if it wouldn't fly in a corporate environment, it shouldn't fly in school. And I know there's workplace bullying too, but that's probably a completely different category than school bullying. So bullying is torture. Plain and simple, it's torture, and nobody should have to endure it.